Hi, welcome to the eFlex 123 Switch 0 to 10 volt dimming room controller product overview. The eFlex 123 is available in 1, 2, and 3 circuit models. It has a single circuit feed and universal input for 120 to 277 volts. Line low connections are made using 12 gauge lead wires. It has commission-free default programming and is ETL listed for UL 508 and UL 924 emergency. It's also listed for CSA. The unit meets California Title 24 requirements, is platinum rated, and mounts on a 4x4 junction box. The power supply is able to power external sensors and remote stations. It includes a micro USB port for programming and configuration using PC software. Status LEDs show power and relay status. The outputs for the eFlex 123 room controller are single-pole mechanically held latching relays with a 16 amp electronic ballast rating and a 20 amp standard ballast rating, rated for the 120 to 277 volts AC. The relays are zero-cross controlled for extended life. The 0 to 10 volt outputs have 100 milliamp sync capability and conform to IEC 60929. Connections to those outputs are through push-in spring terminals up to 16 gauge. The inputs on an eFlex 123 room controller include a daylight sensor input, an occupancy sensor input, a contact closure input, and a pair of RJ45s for CAP-T2 remote stations. The daylight sensor input is syncing only and can be configured for secondary daylight zone operation. The occupancy input can be configured for occupancy or vacancy mode. The contact closure input can be configured for generic preset recall, demand response, or fire alarm. The push-in spring terminals are capable of up to 16 gauge wire. The unit includes a total load current monitor, an override all switch for control bypassing, a micro USB port for PC configuration, dip switches for configuration when not using the PC software, and a dip switch for setting the ID for the FlexNet networking. Configuration programming of the eFlex 123 room controller can be done using hardware configuration where no PC software tools are required. There's many applications that can be done without that. And this is done using dip switches and jumpers. Advanced configuration can be done using the FlexTool configurator software for the PC by connecting to the micro USB port on the device or over the FlexNet network via the gateway. Hardware configuration is done with the dip switches and jumpers. Switch 5 is used for assigning the occupancy and daylight sensors to zones. So, the first positions of switch 5 assigns which zones will be controlled by the occupancy input. An on setting assigns the zones. An off setting unassigns those zones to occupancy control. The second 3 positions of the dip switch would be for the daylight zone assignment. It's the same thing. On position assigns the zones to daylight, and off position unassigns the zones. Position 7 of switch 5 is used for the occupancy mode. On is occupancy mode, and offsetting is vacancy mode. The last position, position 8, is used for the polarity of the occupancy input. Typically it's active high, and that's the default. If the dip switch position is on, then the occupancy polarity is active low. The CAP-T2 remote stations are also assignable using jumpers. The default setting is Zone 1 is controlled by the CAP1 signal, Zone 2 is controlled by the CAP2 signal, and Zone 3 is controlled by the CAP3 signal. By jumpering these across one another, we can have more than one zone controlled by one of these CAP signals. eFlex 123 room controllers are available in UL924 models. These models add an integral automatic load control relay which closes on power loss. In addition, the 0 to 10 volt outputs will disconnect on power loss. This ensures that in an emergency situation, the emergency light is at full brightness. This additional relay is a 3 amp load maximum. It tracks relay number 1. In addition to this, these models also include a test button, which is required for UL924 monthly maintenance testing. The eFlex 123 room controller is an ideal solution for standalone or networked applications. This includes classrooms, office spaces, corridors, hallways, stairwells, conference rooms, and other applications. eFlex provides networking capability. This includes the eFlex 123 room controller, as well as the eFlex 4 and 8 circuit relay panels. Up to 100 devices can sit on a single link segment. Each link segment ends in an eFlex network gateway. This gateway provides an Ethernet to FlexNet bridge and includes system panel configuration through the Flex Tool configurator software. Over this network, the eFlex room controller provides current monitoring. This gateway also includes Telnet AV command strings, a set of contact closure inputs, and will provide future back network connectivity. Another device that sits on our network is the time clock. The time clock option can be integral to an eFlex 4 8-circuit relay panel, and it sits on the network. It can schedule events and broadcast to all devices. The Flex Tool configurator software is a PC-based configuration software. It has two modes: panel mode with a direct connection using USB to either an eFlex relay panel or the room controller. The system mode is a connection through the FlexNet gateway, and that view will show you all devices on a network. Using the Flex Tool configurator software, you can create, edit, save, upload, download relay panel or room controller configuration files. You can name your panel or devices and ID these devices. Our YouTube channel includes video tutorials on how to use this software. The eFlex system includes CAP-T2 remote stations. These stations are used to recall presets, provide raise lower functionality, and other customizable actions. These stations are capacitive touch, have a decor style, and includes a 2, 5, and 7 button standard arrangement. These standard button stations are pre-programmed so that there is no programming needed for your system. Besides the standard button stations, we also include custom stations with 2 to 7 buttons with programmable actions. All stations are available with custom text in laser engraving. These stations have button LED indicators and a power indicator. On the back side, you can see the RJ45 connections between stations and the room controllers or relay panels. In addition, there is a rotary switch that provides cap signal link select. Each station can be programmed to sit on a different CapX link. There's also a dip switch which allows for preset bank select for the 7-button station and for LED tracking. CAP-T2 remote stations for eFlex uses Cat5 cable and RJ45 connections. There are actually 4 CapX links or inputs in the eFlex system. The eFlex room controller uses only 3 of those. There's a rotary switch on the back of the station, as mentioned before, that selects one of those 3 links or inputs, assigning that particular station to one of those 3 links. Multiple stations can be connected to those links or inputs. Connections to multiple eFlex devices can also be made. So we could connect a CAP-T2 station to an eFlex room controller as well as an eFlex panel. And that station would control zones on those devices. Zones to be controlled by the station are assigned to that input or link using either hardware or software on the eFlex room controller. There's a 300-foot maximum length for the Cat5 cable from end to end. And a CAP-T2 station requires only a 0.25 unit load, with the unit load equaling 50 milliamps. CAP-T2 remote stations for eFlex include standard stations, the 2, 5, and 7, that have basically hard-coded functionality and require no programming except zone assignment at the device, and also includes custom stations with 2 to 7 buttons that can be programmed with programmable actions for each button. This programming is done using the eFlex Flex Tool Configurator software, and there's a screenshot here on the slide that shows us what that looks like. Some of the actions that you can program for buttons are preset recall and its own fade time, preset toggle between a preset and off, selecting the preset, a fade time, and what zones are included in that preset toggle. There's zone toggle to a level and off. We have zone set level, master raise lower, zone raise lower, and start stop occupancy override. Could be a pair, button pair, or a toggle, and start stop panic, which can also be a toggle, and this is quite often we use for corridor override. This concludes the eFlex 123 room controller product overview. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact the factory, and we'll be glad to provide any information on the phone or additional documentation, and hope you enjoyed this short presentation.